Croeso, welcome to Inside the Maverick Mind, because the world doesn't change by playing it safe. Every episode we ask three big questions. What shaped you? What almost broke you? And what are you daring to change next? Today's guest says this past year feels like Manchester United in 1999. The treble. Tech Leader of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Established Business of the Year, all while bootstrapping a Welsh tech company that's gone from zero to one of the fastest growing in the UK. Impressive stuff. But behind the trophies, there's a boy from Bexley Heath, a couple of near disasters, some unfinished business, and a very human story of almost losing his mojo and finding it again. This is Inside the Maverick Mind with Mark Sweeny. Welcome, Mark. Good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Let's roll it right back before the awards, before De Novo. You describe yourself as just a boy from Bexley Heath, southeast London. Who's been able to build a great Welsh business? What were you like at school? And did learning come easily to you, or were there parts of it you really struggled with?
I always wanted to achieve, and I think that's something that's instilled from my mum and dad, and my sister and my brother have it. We have a really strong work ethic. We're only like a middle-class family. We didn't come from money or anything, but are very much from an era where your word is your bond. You know, you to get on in life, you got to put the effort in. You got to graft, and that's instilled in all of us. And it's probably, I think, some of the greatest gifts my mum and dad gave us, really. So that's the source, isn't it? Really, it's the DNA, and that comes from you. But that was the upbringing we had. I mean, we were lucky. We had a very loving family there, but they always encouraged us. They always pushed us. But that's the beginning of it already.
So a very working class background, no frills.
Middle class. My dad was an accountant, and he went into what we call data processing, which became the IT industry. That's how it was done, basically in the 70s into the 80s. So he was one of the first IT directors for a book publishing company. So I kind of only ever knew two things in life, which was actually playing the drums
Kept that one quiet.
and computing. That's kind of the two interests that I had was those two things. That was it. There was part of it where I wanted to jump in the back of a transit van and go off drumming around the country, and my mum and dad said, "No, you need to go and get a job."
Could have done with you. I was always looking for a good drummer.
Yeah.
When you look at how you operate now, iterating, experimenting, bootstrapping, can you see any threads from what you learned as a kid and your upbringing? Can you see how it's carried you through life?
I think I'm a calculated risk taker, and as I've got older, I have less and less fear of failure. I think, again, from my upbringing, was you've got to try things and find out. You kind of find out yourself. And I always say to people, don't let people tell you if you're good enough or not good enough. You've kind of got to find out for yourself. Yeah. You will naturally arrive at a destination. And my focus has always been when you find what you are good at, and everyone's good at something. You don't know what it is. Part of life is finding out what that is. But when you find yourself, you're really good at something. And for me, it was IT. It really was. I was better at IT than being a drummer. But it was IT, and I just got it, and I loved it. And then I thought, well, I'm going to be the best that I can possibly be. And then you go to another level. So it's that kind of thing. So
you mentioned there earlier on about risk. You've got more comfortable with risk, but you still respect risk.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. If you don't, you end up in the bankruptcy courts quicker than anything. No, I think everything is about calculated risk taking. I think I've got an ability that I do it very, very quickly because of the way my brain works, but that's based on a lot of experience. And I'm always looking at what the upside is, what the downside is, where I need to be, and from that side of things. And with both the companies I've set up, I'm a big believer in good governance. Yeah. And I've got non-exec directors for a reason, and they're around me to ensure I don't mess up as well. So I've got a safety net around me as well, and I put that safety net around me because when you start building the companies, they become bigger. You've got a lot of responsibility. It's not just, De Novo today, it's 138 people that work for us. But if you think about it, I probably are responsible for 400 people with family and children, and
Yeah.
so the decisions need to be right.
Yeah.
And that's always there at the back of your mind all the time.
That does focus your mind,
Yeah.
that responsibility,
Yeah.
month in, month out. What I've learned, I think, is to protect the downside. I'd only see the opportunity previously. And my wife was always, the yin and the yang in our relationship would say, oh, hang on a minute, how are you going to do that? And you need that, I suppose we'd call it non-execs these days. I work closely with my wife, somebody that questions you, somebody that just gives you that slight moment. And because protecting the downside, what if? You still have to ask, what if
Yeah, I mean, in the Certus, which was the big success in De Novo, is
yeah.
3 times bigger than Certus was, which is wow. But I'm lucky I've had a long-term business partner.
Yeah.
And we are yin and yang. We're completely different, and that's probably why it works. We're not best of friends, but we're just business partners, and we have been for 17, 18 years.
Wow.
It's a long, long time, but because we're opposites, there is always that person to run something past, the bounce off. And as I said, we've got non-exec directors as around because the stakes are a lot higher, and we have to be cognizant of that.
Definitely. So on this show, we talk a lot about Maverick mentors and the people who give you permission to think differently. Now, I'm curious, who was your Maverick mentor? Who's that one person, teacher, boss, coach, family member, who saw something in you or challenged you in a way that really challenged your trajectory?
I think it was a couple of guys, actually they're friends for 35 years later, that I met when I first started off, because I went to my first steady job was with Lloyds Bank in their data processing department, which sounds very all grandeur, but it actually was printing bank statements of other people's money and putting on, the tapes like in Joe 90. Yeah, putting the tapes on the machines.
How glamorous.
Yeah, well,
I think I'd stick with drumming.
And it was in a basement as well, a very deep basement in London. But I obviously had something, and a couple of friends, which funny enough, I'm meeting on Thursday for drinks in London. We do it annually. Ian Cohen, Chris Hunter and Barry Coleman, they saw potential in me. I was pretty much a live wire in those days, really live wire. I think, you come out of school and you still, you're coming out of school in the 80s, and I didn't know how to be part of a team and how to conduct myself in the right way. But I did have a talent for IT. There was something there, and they kind of, between them, over a number of years, took me under their wing and kind of knocked me into shape in a good way to get me into quite a stable place. And then, in a way, it's like all things with mentors. I don't think they stay with you for your entire life. I mean, I'm lucky they're still the closest friends today, something like 35 years later. Where does time go? But you then go to the next part of your career, and then I've been lucky enough. I've found people, that have encouraged me to fulfil my potential and help me on my journey from there. So, but I think there's a lot I owe the Lloyds Bank days, because they really got me into, should we say, into a proper job. My mum and dad were happy.
That's the thing,
Yeah, you got to bring some coin in. But they started to shape me in the right way. So
was there anything in particular they would say or do, your mates now, to get you on that path?
I think a lot of it, and I think this is core to business, it's about the relationships you form. So how you interact with people. And I get, a lot from my mum and dad. I come from that area. It is about respect and respect to elders and stuff. It's always been drilled into me.
Me too.
But how you interact with people, and business is all about timing, and it's about relationships.
Yeah. 100%.
So, and if you can't relate to people or find the common ground, then you're probably not going to go very far, because everything's about that. And that helps you through good conversations and also the difficult conversations that come with business. But it's about relationships. And I think between my early mentors was about how I conducted myself, how I interacted with myself. Sometimes I cringe, I'll be honest, when I watch The Apprentice. The opening shots when they come in, I'm going to do this and that. And I think, God, that was just like me. And you just think that is not the way to be. That's great for telly, but that is not the way to be. But
It makes great telly,
he
Mark.
does make great telly, and it's a brilliant program. And all due respect to them all, but that's not the way you behave. I mean, you're going to upset a lot of people if you're like that in the workplace.
Yeah,
So
you're fired.
Yeah. So it was like tempering the enthusiasm, but also channeling it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing they did for me.
So because of those experiences, do you see yourself playing that same role now for people within De Novo?
Oh, absolutely. I'm big into, and it's one of the reasons we built the company down here. I mean, there are many, but one of the key ones was the Welsh government graduate apprenticeship scheme,
Yeah.
and I'm a big supporter of that.
That's good.
Look, the economics doesn't make sense. Go to university, come out with £70,000 worth of debt, and you spend the rest of your life, you can't pay it off. I mean, it's not a value proposition. But the apprenticeship scheme, and this is something, and I bang onto the Welsh government when they say to me about this, because I'm passionate, this is something you've got right.
Yeah.
So don't screw it up. Basically, I'll be quite candid about
100%.
this, which is we take on the apprentices, they come and work for us as full-time employees, albeit they start on the minimum wage, which is not that cheap these days. Thank you, Rachel Reeves. But they get paid properly, and on Monday to Thursday they will work. They're learning proper industry skills, and we do Oracle and we do ServiceNow, and they're really good skills to have. They're mainstay skills, and that's got all the AI in it and or whatever comes up next.
Wow.
These are really good products. On Fridays, we partner with the University of South Wales, and they go and do a technical course, a business course in technology.
Brilliant.
And some of it's with data science if they want to do that. So they do that for 4 years. They progress with us as a company, and they also come out with a degree. And I'll say this, the best thing, this is our 5th year, but the best thing we've done at De Novo was to get our first apprentice, Brogan, through the system, graduated with first class honours.
Wow.
And he won FinTech Wales Apprentice of the Year.
Did he? Yes, I was there.
Yeah, and that, to be honest, that's the biggest highlight of doing it. But that's one side, that's the technical side. And the thing we've learned dealing with young people, and we had to learn to deal with young people. We've really had to learn to change our behaviours and the way we act.
Really?
It's a big learning curve for us. But to be honest, they got no life skills. So we've created, my HR director, Charlene's created the Next Generation program.
Wow.
So we've now got a program internally that goes alongside that. And actually today they're being taught Consultancy 101 by one of our own consultants. But we bring people, we've had ex-military in, taking them up the Brecon Beacons, teach them some resilience, get yourself out there, taking them out of their comfort zone. We've got scheduled for next year an ex-Royal Shakespeare company actor who's coming in to teach some presentation, because acting is projection, representation. And the point is, we're not expecting them to go out and sell £1 million deal or something like that, but you can't go through life without talking to people. And we need to take you out your comfort zone so you begin to learn, so you begin to know what you're good at and what you're not so good at, and that begins to shape you. And we feel we got a big responsibility there, and to be honest, to make them, shall we say, how do you say politely, economically viable for us, we need to get the skills into them, and it takes time. Yeah. So that's our big thing, really, and we've now been doing it. So we're coming into the 5th year. We already start January for September's intake. We do 3 a year, but we've had 10 through the system. Number 10 has now graduated, so we've got 9, and they're stacked now through there, and we'll take another 3, and we've produced this production line of new talent, really. And then we've got a graduate scheme that sits over the top, but for people that come in at a different level. But that's a big thing for us, that apprenticeship scheme.
Wow, what an investment. I mean, and that payoff when you sat there and saw your student now come, the youngest person in the company to do well in an awards. But great. I studied a similar model with Ferrari. And, if it's good enough for Ferrari, it's good enough for Welsh business, basically. But it takes tenacity to see that through. And I do think it's linked to your own experiences and how you were given back. But your company will be richer for it.
Oh, absolutely. And yes, it is an investment. It's an investment in time, and it's a financial investment. But sometimes when people quiz me on it, I just turn around and say, do you know, it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah.
You can't always sometimes put it down to a monetary value. But we wanted to build a company, a great Welsh business, because that's what we say, and we are. We are building a great Welsh business, but we wanted something to be sustainable, and for it to be sustainable and still to be there, hopefully after I've gone. You've got to have the pyramid and the talent coming through. And the more we can do, especially down in Wales, to get talent into the tech space.
Yeah.
And we've got such a great fintech space going on down in Wales, the better for everyone.
100%.
And even if those people, at some point, their journey finishes with us and they go to someone else, then we're all still going to benefit in some way. And that's the way we look at it.
I kind of thinking that the young Mark in the basement would have, lapped up a scheme like this. He would have jumped on it. And excelled.
I would. I wish it was
You'd have
around
put
when
the
I wish it was around when I was there. And I
You
was
put
here.
your drumsticks down.
Yeah. I still pick them up occasionally.
So, with your Maverick mindset, in this show, we talk about what shaped you, what almost broke you, what are you daring to do next. Now, let's fast forward to this year because it's been quite something.
Yeah.
And congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You've just closed Wales Tech Week with Tech Leader of the Year 2025. I applauded loudly. Established Business of the Year, the Great British Entrepreneurship of the Year 2025. Was one more. Yeah, the trouble.
Yeah.
The FinTech Wales Entrepreneur of the
Yeah.
Year 2025. You said it's like the Manchester United in 1999 when they took the treble.
Yeah.
So the question is, when you step back from the LinkedIn post and just sit with that for a second, how does it actually feel? Pride, pressure, or surreal?
A lot of pride. The one thing I will say is, yes, I'm the face of the company, but I know more than anything. I've got this whole team of people behind me, and yes, it's great to have the awards, but if I don't have the team of people behind me and the team's not going on the journey with me and I can't take them on the journey, then you don't get it all. So I think every award, whether it's an individual award, there's a team of people that's behind you at work.
Yeah.
And also, because I am quite vocal about it, I'm very lucky. I've got a great wife, Welsh girl from the Valleys, Astrid Mannock.
The best. She can put up with anything.
Oh yeah, and
So she does.
she does. She puts up with me, and I wouldn't be able to do this without her because, I have a life and life goes on, and we're not immune to the challenges of life that goes on. She takes care of business a lot at home, so I get to play entrepreneur, but she's dealing with my 3 stepsons, she's dealing with my elderly parents and all the challenges that life go. But the individual awards is only because of the team at work and because of her.
Do those awards change anything in your day-to-day reality? Now, what I'm thinking about is talent you can attract or doors that are open, or is it mostly a moment to put your arm around the team and say, look, we've done this?
I think it's definitely both.
Yeah.
For the team to celebrate what they've achieved, to be publicly recognised
Yes.
for what they've achieved.
100%.
And I do encourage businesses to go for awards and stuff because you do build profile. At least there's 2 instances where customers have found us because of the awards, and we've generated revenue from that and without that exposure. So that's happened twice where you can literally draw a direct line from the award to revenue coming in through the door, and also a long-term relationship. So yeah, very much so. I think it puts you above. I'll be honest as well, another reason for coming to Wales, at the end of the day, De Novo is just a technology company. Yeah. When you distill it down, but it's a great Welsh business and it puts Wales on the map. And my attitude's always been, I'm leveraging Wales for its resources.
Yeah. 100%.
To build this company, but the quid pro quo is I will promote Wales because in some ways I don't want to because I think it's the world's best kept secret, but I also know that we don't do enough to promote the country.
Yeah.
And Wales has been good to me, so my quid pro quo is then I will promote Wales nationally and internationally, and that gives us a voice. It's a different voice to being lost with 10,000 other companies in London. And that makes us different. So it's a win-win. I always look for the win-win. The art of any deal, to me, is a win-win for both people. So, both sides win. You find that middle ground where you're both extracting value equally. And that's kind of, should we say, my informal agreement with Wales.
Yeah, you've got to leave something on the table for the
Yeah,
client.
absolutely.
We're drawing up the adoption papers, Mark, so you'll have to support Wales with the rugby as well. So how's that?
Yeah, well, when I first came down here, my father-in-law did make me walk through Cardiff with an England rugby shirt on, so I do wear red these days.
I'm intentionally filming this, not during the Six Nations. On Inside the Maverick Mind, we do love the trophies, and
Yeah.
I've seen in my own experience that it gives people comfort. It's an external validation that somebody says
Yeah.
they're good at this, because it's a big investment often that people have to make. But we're more interested in the story before the trophies, so let's get into that. You've said Novo is your overnight success.
Yeah.
That's actually been 5 hard years in the making. And there's this powerful phrase you've used, unfinished business.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into that. So take us back 5 years. What wasn't finished for you after Certus that made you think, I've got to come back and build again?
Certus was the pioneer of Oracle Cloud in the UK. So what's Oracle Cloud? Basically, it's an application suite which lives in the cloud but digitally transforms HR, payroll, finance, procurement operations. Basically, your corporate services back office. Doesn't sound that glamorous, but from a business perspective, it's good because everybody needs that stuff.
Yeah.
So
I couldn't make a TV show about
no,
it.
there's a market for it. And we have a very, very deep public sector background with central government. And that's what brought me to Wales 20 years ago.
Right.
20 years ago next year, actually 2004, we went live with something called the Prison Service Shared Service Centre, the Phoenix programme, Junction 28 at the Celtic Springs Business Park. And when I came down here, the Celtic Springs Business Park was a lump of mud, literally with 3 iron pilings in there. And I think Airbus might have been there in the Holiday Inn, but that was it. It was just mud. All I remember was mud everywhere. And that's where we built it. And that's what brought me to Wales there.
Yeah.
And ironically, and it's quite serendipitous because Newport, would you believe, is the centre of clouds in the UK. And not a lot of people know this. And I've tried to explain this to politicians so many times. And it started with the prison service. And the thing is, I came down here and I was just a contractor in those days. And I spent 4 years of my life building this thing and putting all this Oracle technology in. And the biggest lesson we learned from doing this technology project was that we actually I was part of a team that created 500 jobs down here.
Wow.
You're not talking ones and zeros anymore. You're talking about real economic growth. And we created these 500 jobs. So it's really always proud of being part of that team. And through serendipity, we knew people very high up in Oracle. And the ONS, which is literally about 1,000 metres around the corner on the ONS, the Office of National Statistics site, their CFO wanted to modernise their system with the latest cloud technology, and he wanted to do it in the most economic advantage way, and he was prepared to take the risk on this new stuff.
Great.
We literally walked around the corner and then we pioneered. This stuff had never been done before, and we literally wrote the book on how to implement this stuff. There was nothing to follow, and Oracle were asking us, because we knew how to implement systems, what they didn't want to do was build something in an ivory tower. So they would build something and we go, that's great, but we can't actually implement that. But they would take that away. And they worked with another company in the US as well. And I think there was somebody down in Asia Pac, because it was our implementation experience of how we actually get these systems in. So we did the implementation at the ONS. And actually, that's 10 years next October 26. We went live with that. So 20 years in October 26, we built the shared service. And that's actually, funny enough, opposite the Vantage Data Centre. And the Vantage Data Centre is where Oracle Cloud actually sits. So it's like a tripod of this is the centre of the universe. And not many people know that.
Newport.
And of course, now it's evolved over 10 years and it's all, massively different kind of product in many ways, but it all started down in there in Newport, in the Celtic Springs Business Park.
Who would have thought? Do you
No.
think that was one of the reasons why Sir Terry Matthews was based there?
I don't know. You'd have to ask Sir Terry, but I do remember staying at the Celtic Manor constantly in those days. I seemed to live up in the Celtic Manor, so it was there. But to answer the question about Certus then went on to do the Treasury. It went on to do the Home Office. It was an incredible amount of success. In the early days, we struggled. I mean, we nearly went under twice. We bootstrapped it. We nearly went bankrupt twice. We were too far ahead of the curve. And then when the ONS came in, suddenly within 6 months it went like dominoes, and of course it's typical first mover advantages.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
were the experts, and we had it. Everything was coming at us, and we were scaling. And we worked on the Home Office, and a company called Accenture came in to acquire us, and it's an American company, and acquired the business. And we exited, we stayed with it. I think things we wanted to do, because the cloud was constantly, and as it is now, evolving, we just didn't get to do.
Yeah.
And that was disappointing. That's all I can say. It was just disappointing. I had to exit at some point, and for acquisitions you're under legal embargo for a period of time, and then basically I got under Nat's feet, and she told me to go and get a job. And I said, I'm totally unemployable. I can't just go and get a job. That's one thing once you've made the cross. And so De Novo is the third company I founded.
Did you regret selling, or did you just feel I shouldn't have let that one go?
No, to be honest, it was the right time. It's like I said at the beginning, business is about timing and opportunity. The numbers and the planets all aligned, and it was the right thing to do. So I don't have any regrets about doing that. It's just disappointing we couldn't have gone on to do the things we thought we could have done. And after sitting at home for a couple of years, literally doing nothing, in a way, I kind of sat COVID out. So I couldn't do anything anyway, and I was just sitting at home watching Netflix, watched everything on Netflix. And again, due respect to Nat, because she knows when she says that what she's letting herself in for, because she knows we're going to start the whole merry-go-round again. And the commitment that's required.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, she knows exactly what she was saying, but she knew that I needed to kind of get back on the horse, get my mojo back, because it was, I just found myself mentally in a bit of a dark place, really. There was things I wanted to do and I couldn't do, and I was just seeing missed opportunity, and it was like starting to get irritating, really. And I wanted to come back. So the unfinished business was, right, we are going to do all the things. We made a list, and I started getting the team around me, and I said, right, we're going to make a list of all the things we wanted to do that we never got to do. So the apprentices was one. We never achieved that with Certus. So that was actually the top of the list. There was something between myself and Ian Carline, who's my CTO, who's been with me for 15, 20 years. As Ian says, Ian's job is, I think it all up and go, we're going in this direction. He's got to figure out how we get there, technically.
Sounds familiar.
That's his job. But we made a list of all the things we wanted to do and that we wanted to achieve. And we went and spoke to former customers and to Oracle, and they wanted us back because they felt there was something missing from the ecosystem, the ecosystem in the UK, and we wanted to come back. But we wanted to come back in a different form. And that was there. And of course, one condition that said was, and I want to move back to Wales. And I said, that's not a problem, because obviously I'd been watching Wales for 20 years. I've been seeing how the Welsh government was trying to move the economy from agricultural, tourism and heavy industry to creative, high tech, advanced manufacturing and fintech.
We're doing all that.
Yeah, and of course this doesn't take 5 years or 10 years or 20, it's a 30, 40 year journey. But if you don't start, you never get there. So I knew this was the place to do it. And the other thing was where Wales to me was, everyone says it's geographically landlocked. Actually, I saw that as an advantage, because if we could recruit down here and we could invest in the people down here, they don't naturally want to leave Wales. So we could provide highly valued, highly skilled jobs down
Very
here.
true.
And the workforce is less likely to walk off. You can't never assume that, but it's just less likely to.
I'm curious, you mentioned the word mojo there, because in my experience, as you know, we sold our company once, our family business, and I'll never forget the M&A guy saying, "You sure you want to do this?" I said, "Yeah, of course," because we're hardwired to think that selling your company is the thing to do.
Yeah.
I did think about the future being different and expanding and everything else, and it was a fantastic honeymoon period. But the whale eats the shark eats the minnow, and Comcast, NBC Universal bought Sky Studios, who bought us. And that was the time I lost my mojo. And I've never been in such a scary place where I wasn't creative anymore. And I think it's because my purpose was missing. I mean, my drive, hearing you talk about being lost is exactly how I felt. And somehow we managed to buy the company back and we've rebuilt it with my family around me. Got the band again. You didn't get my drummer, but I got the band back together again. And I've not stopped, you know. So I really relate to what you said there. So what did those near misses and that sale teach you that's hardwired into De Novo from day one?
I think this time we don't just want to sell out to a bigger fish.
Yeah.
And we're still ticking off all the things we wanted to do.
Mm.
To be honest, we've been so successful we could have sold it twice. You
I
know,
thought so.
and we're approached regularly. But you know, it's deja vu. And the initial management team around is basically saying, hang on a second, why have we come back and done this in the first place? We haven't finished what we set out to do.
Yeah.
And we're going to do this because, and as you said, the great overnight success, that's De Novo, it's taken 5 years, right? So it's like, we don't want to, you know, and we are getting older, you know, when we sold Certas, I was 49. So I'm kind of made my money before I was 50. But we started, I was 52, 53 when I started De Novo. So I'm 58, December. So,
Never do say so.
Yeah. So it was going back to why are we doing this? Why have we put ourselves through this? Why have we taken the risks on again? And, you know, we live and breathe it every day. So that's really, really important to us. And from doing that, reminding, you know, in a way, it's kind of underpinning our value set of why we're doing this. It just puts us in the right mind frame. And of course, we're the bit about the mojo is because we are doing it differently. We are challenging conforms. We are disrupting the status quo. That's when it starts. It's fun. It's supposed to be fun. I think that's the important lesson. You know, when it stops being fun, you need to stop.
Yeah.
And I'm okay at the moment. I'm having a lot of fun, but I know that feeling, and I do say that to people. If you're doing something and you're not enjoying it, because you only get to live once. And maybe it's just things you do as you get older and you
100%.
learn more. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing at work, because you spend a lot of time at work and there, then you find something you enjoy, your passion. And if you're finding your passion and joy, you're never really at work.
No.
You know, and I love putting this system in. I like transforming businesses. The things we can do with it is way off the page that many businesses can cope with, but I want to try and encourage them and take them on that journey, and I just like doing it. And plus, from building the company, I like bringing the next lot of talent through, because it takes me back to the Lloyd's days. A couple of guys, 3 guys, they gave me a chance, and you know, I can't remember who said it, but someone said when you get to the top of the building, you've got to send the elevator back down, haven't you? So, and that's what we do. So that's what we're trying to do. And I think that's really important.
Oh, hugely. I mean, all the decisions I've made on a financial basis have been the wrong decisions very often. You know, it's got to be more about your integrity, about what you're about and what you want to be remembered for. For me, it's all about legacy now. You know, we've been going for 28 years, but what's the next 28 years? You know, and the same with De Novo. You know, you've got such a legacy in South Wales. Wow.
Yeah, funny enough, we were talking about this on Friday. Was our quarterly staff meeting where we bring the company together. It's a big company to bring together. I mean, you know, thank you, Sir Terry, for the Celtic Manor, because we're kind of upgrading each room each year, getting bigger and bigger. We're now in the 2010 Golf Club, so we've reached that size.
That's
We've got the 2010 Golf Club. But actually, we talked about legacy, and I did talk about it as about whether it was an ego thing, and we actually said, well, actually, it's our legacy. It's our contribution. I think that's a better word for it. It's our contribution back to it all. Yes, we're going to make money. It's business. We enjoy it. We're going to look after our families. But there is a bigger purpose here. And we are actually seeing that through what we're doing with that stuff. And also just the other stuff we do in the local community. I mean, I've got a portfolio of football teams we now support. So De Novo supports 3. Let me shout out Caldygock Town, Port Stewart and Undy, and Abergavenny Rhinos is in the portfolio of football teams. They're the portfolio of football teams we support. So big shout out to all the boys and girls that are there. And we do a couple in Guildford as well. But we've got those, and we support Daniela Sutton, who's not Welsh, but she's a great British prospect
Yeah.
in Formula 4.
Yeah.
And obviously, Oracle ServiceNow tech industry is very linked to Formula
Very
1
much.
massively. And I mean, Lando's just been brilliant this year, so congratulations to him. But, you know, there's a natural link there. But again, it's nurturing young talent through sport. And the way we see our role is, do you know, that's something we can do that's tangible. You can see, best were in the world. I'm sorry, but I can't save the planet, right? So I can't. I can't do anything that has an impact. But sponsoring the local teams, putting money into the local community, getting kids into work, supporting Daniela Sutton in her dreams, her aspirations as a role model there. In our little way, at least we feel that we make a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's worth doing.
So if you think about the last few years with Novo,
Yeah.
what's been the most maverick decision you've made? The one that felt properly uncomfortable at the time, where you knew you were stepping out your comfort zone and you were on thin ice. There must have been a time.
The best bit about building a business, I usually find, is the first 15 minutes, because after that, it's just hard work, right? In my game, because fundamentally I work in sales, and I'm having to bet the company against my ability to bring the business in.
Yeah.
And in the early days, everybody's relying on you, you know, and I'm not saying this in a blasé way. I've been doing it a long time. You don't go from literally 5 years ago, blank sheet of paper and £0 to a kind of £12 million annual revenue turnover company. And I understand the risks I'm taking and where the limits are. F1 track limits. I'm right on the. I have been right on the track limits, but equally now we come back off the track limits. We just play safe and steady. And in a way, as you get bigger, you don't necessarily need to be first. You know, as long as you finish the race and should we say you're at the front half of the pack, you're going to be doing okay. So you know, it's just you've just got to moderate the risk profile a bit with it.
Yeah.
But that was the bit that where we. You know, we floored it, basically.
But did you have doubters? Because you must have had somebody in your helmet saying, "You sure about this?" That's when I think tenacity of an entrepreneur. There's a little bit of blind hope as well, because I know you've had experience, but there's no mirror ball either. Lots of things can happen. COVID taught us that.
I suppose there's always that voice there. It's just that I try and make sure there's lots of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
I've always got a plan A, a plan B, and plan C, and because things happen that are outside your control.
Yeah.
An entrepreneur has a positive mindset.
Yes.
You know, otherwise they wouldn't do it, because they just wouldn't do it. I mean, when you look back, you look at the things we do, you think, you know, you do have to have a double take at times.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it, especially with De Novo, is just my spider sense for calculated risk is highly tuned, and I know what risks I'm taking and when to push. And if I think something's going to come off the rails, I'm already thinking, right, okay, fine, but we'll just execute plan B, plan C, and that'll fill that gap, that will deal with that. And occasionally, perhaps I have to take foot off the accelerator. Don't like it, but I know it's the right thing to do a bit. But then again, I've got people around me that says, hang on, let's just, look, if we have to just back off for 3 months, is it the end of the world? It's not, generally. So I might not like it, but I'm smart enough. I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? You know, successful entrepreneurs surround themselves, first of all, with people that are better than you. And there's no point surrounding yourself with people that are better than you to ignore them.
Yeah.
Right? You might not agree with them.
No, I agree.
But you need to listen to them and to consider it. And I think as I've got older, I've become better and better and better and better at doing that.
You and me, good. I mean, the art of active listening is the thing I think that I'm most proud of. You know, I've looked back at my mistakes because I haven't listened. Because of that unblind ambition of being an entrepreneur and pushing through, you know, somebody somewhere, not just a nice voice in your head, but somebody somewhere saying, "You sure about this?" And they usually got a good reason. But that's the thing about a maverick mind. The decisions that scare you a bit are usually the ones that move the story on.
Yeah, they are. Perhaps there is someone out there. I don't know anyone who build successful businesses by playing it totally safe. I just don't. I think you have to put yourself out there. And you've got to do it, as you know, every single day. You can't do it Monday to Friday and then we'll take the weekend off or the next week. You have to do it every single day. It's constant, and you're always thinking about it. And you have to do that.
In a recent post, I noticed that you talk about being in constant pursuit of delivery excellence, and that your customers actually want to see you succeed and hold you to account because they value you.
Yeah.
My question is, what does delivery excellence actually look like inside the Novo on, say, a random wet Tuesday afternoon like today?
What we look for is with customers is long-term relationships,
Yeah.
because we're going to go on their journey and their story, but they're going to be part of ours.
Yeah.
So they're going to help us build this great Welsh business. So there's a bit of leap of faith. Now, we were lucky with De Novo because 80% of our customers from the previous business over time, not immediately, but over time, have come back to us because I think, I know
You're doing a
they
good
trust
job.
us
Yeah.
there. But the delivery excellence part is with true partnerships. Sometimes you do have to turn around to customers and go, that is not going to work. This is what's going to happen. And they may not like that, but you've got to be brave enough to say that.
Yeah.
And even to the point when sometimes it might cost you some business, but I think it's that candour and the honesty. The real customers that stay with you will respect that, and they'll be from there. So delivery excellence is part of that. It's part of your behaviours, how you support one another, how you treat one another. I think that's really, really important from there. But also the quality of what you're delivering, because we deliver consultancy, we deliver, configured systems. We want them to be error-free. Look, that's the holy grail. It's never that way. But our standards are there. So, and I think a lot about what we do is if you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yeah, funny that.
And that comes all the way back to my own values, where we started the conversation with my dad. Your word is your bond, your handshake. That, it's that value that's fundamentally what I was taught from a young age. If you do that, it's the same with a customer. And there's sometimes perhaps the deal doesn't work out the way you want it to be, and I can accept that. That's just the risk of doing business. That's just the way it is. And not just me, my immediate band around me all think the same way. If we deliver poor quality, if we have a bad day, everyone has a bad day, we get bent out of shape over it because it's our reputation. And we value that more than money, more than anything, is our reputation.
100%.
And everyone who works for us, we consider them to be an extension of our reputation and what we stand for. And that's really, really important for us. And it's just fundamental to what we do. Equally, if we get a prospect or a customer and they come up with something that we know is going to jeopardise that because they want something done in 3 months when we know it's a 9-month project, then we're not the right people for you.
No.
We probably see you in 6 months when we have to come and fix it, but we're not the right people for you right now, because that's really, really key to us. Because I think it's the old cliche, but isn't it right? It's a lifetime to build a reputation, but you can blow it away in 5 minutes.
100%. And to your point about telling people what they don't want to hear, I remember when Avanti was owned by Sky for that brief period, there was a phrase that said, good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. And I think that I've tried to apply that straight away. If I know there's a problem or something, the customer will usually need to know, and not hide behind that. The honesty and integrity is what you're known for. And that's central to why people come back to you. It's, that's why you've been successful. So, Maverick Mindset and mechanics next, okay? Brave decisions start with quiet disciplines. You make a big point of thanking your wife, Natalie.
Yeah.
And I 100% back you on that one. Saying you get to play entrepreneur, because she takes care of business at home. And also how many staff have you got now?
138.
You think that's enough?
Well, we're still growing.
Because Wales, the UK and Chennai, yeah?
Yeah, Chennai in India. Yeah.
How important is it to have that support system, would you say, at home, allowing you to take the risks you've taken? I mean, that infrastructure's there.
Absolutely massive for me. Should we say, I've done it in a previous life without that support system being there. Yeah, it did not end well for anyone. But with Nat, I just totally realised I couldn't do it without her. Anyway, she came up with the name de Novo.
Did
as well.
she?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
The new.
The new.
Yeah. So it was, so Certus stood for assured.
Yes.
And then, of course, we were coming back, and the Latin translation is the new. And we
Awesome.
thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I mean, unfortunately, my mum's got quite advanced dementia. It's terrible, there. But
I'm sorry to
again,
hear that.
and my dad's learning to cope with that, and Nat goes down, every week or every other week to the New Forest when I physically can't get there, where she's in a care home, and she's looking after that. And then I always notice my three stepchildren, well, not my three stepchildren, her three stepchildren, they come to her first to ask for how will Dad feel about this rather than come to me. So she's got that respect with them. That happens quite a lot.
Good.
So and at times she'll have to lay down the law, even though they're much older, but yeah, she deals with all of that, and that's really important because I think there's only so much. Everyone only has so much mental capacity to deal with everything, and when you're running your own business,
I know.
90% of your brain, 95% of it's taken up with the business, and the 5%'s the other side, and no one wants collateral damage.
No.
And you can easily get into that situation, but it's also learning and not forgetting she has a life, her needs, her wants, her desires, what she wants to do. It's not all about Mark's world and everybody lives in Mark's bubble kind of thing, and that's really important as well.
I have a similar system. I work with my wife since the beginning of Avanti because I wasn't seeing her. Working for another company, bringing a lot of business in. But that's how we've made it work, and she's got my back on everything. And more so now as we have the grandchildren, I'm doing what I have to do and she covers on other things. That partnership is so important. And it's also, to your point about Mojo, once that's upset in any way, it affects your performance. There's no doubt about that.
Our partners don't escape from it.
No.
Yeah, with all due respect, if you're an employee, or even if you're a senior employee in the management team, you switch off. But she has to live with it 24. They live at 24. It's a 24/7 job, isn't it?
Feeling,
Plus, you've got to look after the family as well. There's no escape. She knows if when you have the bad day, when it hasn't worked out, when it's not gone against you, or it comes like buses, doesn't it? You never get one disappointment. You get boom, 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 and it's your resilience and you have to find it inside yourself to pick yourself up and get your head straight in front of your staff, in front of your customers, and you just got to pull yourself up. And at times, I mean, she's great. She drags me up, but there's things she does. I tell you, the one thing, and I've posted on it on LinkedIn. One thing, when I'm going for that, that killer sales pitch, when I'm gonna go and
bring in the bacon.
and I've got to go and hit it out of the park. She always says to me, "Go be brilliant." And she always says that to me. She knows. And do you know what? When I'm leaving the house that morning, she puts me in the right mindset. That's her knack. She knows she's got to get me into that space. And it's free work. Go be brilliant. And that's what she does. And she's done it so many times.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I reckon if you had a job advert with a spec on it, then there wouldn't be many applications, really. You also say we don't always get it right, but doesn't stop us trying. I'm curious with that because can you share a time when you got it wrong, and culturally or operationally, and what you changed as a result?
One of the biggest lessons from the Certus days was, first rule of business is cash is king. You don't need to do an MBA to work that out. Cash is everything. Cash is king. And that's cash in your bank account that you can get your hands on right now that you can do something with. And we weren't that good at managing cash flow in certain states. As I said, we nearly went under twice. But with de Novo, we are masters. We live and breathe the way we run our cash flow, for the year. We look at it. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't look at it. And especially when you're growing and scaling, because you need more capital, you need to generate, either you're going to put that capital in, or you're going to go and generate more revenue to create your own capital, which I prefer to do. But you've got to manage it. I mean, we're lucky because of the success, and we've got great banking facilities behind us, and that really get us. They understand us, and I can have highly intelligent conversations with them. We're with HSBC.
Good.
They've been brilliant.
Might as well call them up.
Yeah. Shout out to David Roberts. Cheers, David. But no, they really understand us and get us. They've really backed us in the corner by giving us that liquidity to scale and grow, where we're not having to sell equity effectively. So they really, really understand us from that perspective. So I'd say the second biggest one is as you're scaling, you're getting bigger. And the way you manage yourselves, it's a kind of management and culture. It's kind of, I probably get it all confused because they are different things. But obviously, the way you conduct yourselves when there is Mark, and then Mark and a couple of friends, and then there's 5 of us, and then there's 12 of us, and suddenly there's 20, then 20 becomes 35, and 35 becomes 50, then you become 67 for some reason is a number, and then it was 85, and then 119, and now 138. People need structure, and you've got to have clear reporting lines. But when you're growing that fast, the challenge that you've got is where I'm quite used to, as you know, entrepreneurs, chaos is just the office, isn't it? The chaos is just the office. People can't operate in that world. They need structure, and when you're scaling fast, you've got to put the structures in place, and you've got to scale those structures. And people have got to buy into that it's constantly changing as it gets bigger. That creates opportunities for people.
Yeah.
But it naturally isn't the most comfortable place for employees. An entrepreneur doesn't think that way. I say this all the time. There's nothing wrong being an employee, and there's nothing wrong being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs just have their brains wired differently. That's all it is. That is all it is. They just live in a different place. They just see the world in a different way. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with an employee seeing the world the way they look through it all. Both can coexist quite easily, and entrepreneurs need employees, and employees need entrepreneurs. So everybody needs each other. It's just different perspectives. But it's getting people to feel comfortable with that. And I would say, because De Novo is 3 times bigger than Certus, we don't always get it right as we're scaling up. We don't. And, where you fix a couple of problems over here, you've dropped some of the balls over here. But the way to get through it is just be honest with the staff, acknowledge where we are, acknowledge what we're doing about it, and show. I think we do quarterly meetings where we bring everyone together, whether it's virtually or online, that you are making progress. Don't ever say something. Politicians could learn a lot from this. Don't ever say something or promise something you cannot deliver. And you really only get one shot with that, because it's there. If you can't deliver it, don't promise it. Don't promise it. Keep your mouth shut.
Wise words. I mean, being a maverick, it can create fear in people because it's not familiar for them. So I think the governance around a company where you have to appear, more. I remember having to learn to be more statesman-like, less of the lead singer in the band many years ago, and that demeanour was important to have. But I also thought, when I related to what you're saying there now, a year ago we had a very successful year. Cardiff is the year, Entrepreneur of the Year, 2 BAFTAs, and we were like the proverbial swan on the lake. Everybody's saying, it's going great. No. But we were going like this, really having to think about what's next. And we came out of that. But if anybody around us would have felt that panic, because we were pivoting in a digital industry, then it would have been more damaging than keeping your mind. Let's go a layer deeper inside the Maverick Mind. What are the non-negotiable habits or disciplines that keep you grounded and sharp? Sleep, exercise, thinking time, family routines. What does it actually look like for you?
You've got to look after your health. And I was 20 kilograms bigger. I massively. I got myself in the gym, just doing walking. I wasn't trying to be, Superman on massive weights, but I got myself walking up a hill, inclines there, and started to look after myself better. And actually, that did a world of good, because I was starting to get to a point where everything was taking longer to do it. I was really overweight. I was eating crap, basically, and I was getting brain fog, and I was losing clarity. And then I started doing just exercise, and I kept at it. And I only stop when I get ill, and I've got to get myself back on the horse now, and just about to get myself back in the gym, just doing the same thing, doing my walking. And that over time gave me a space where I could switch the mobile phone off, just listen to some good music, to clear my mind a bit over things. So I think you have to make time for it, and you need to stay healthy and active. And as I said, I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder or anything like that, but just get yourself health and safety. Watch what you eat, and I am careful about what I eat. I think the other negotiables is you don't know everything. You're always learning. Have an open mind. I love looking at actually creative. I did this. So I have a big. Everybody knows me. I'm a big Aston Martin fan.
Yeah.
But I like looking about how Aston Martin is presented to its audience. I like the little videos, the short films, the glossy stuff. I like that. And also when people advertise perfumes and stuff, the packaging, how it's presented. And I'm always thinking about, well, how can I take some of those concepts and put it into, the tech industry? Because it can get a bit boring, really. So I think you can always learn from others. There's always something there. Do you know what I mean? And you have to have this open mind and this curiosity to learn all the time. And I think that's key. And I think the third one is it's a team of people that make it happen. It's not Mark. Yeah, I've got perhaps a little bit of magic and magic wand, but I think my skill is I can bring the people together, focus them in a direction, and that's where we're going. That's the leadership bit. But it's the team that gets you there, whether that's at home, as we talked about, or it's the people at work as well, which is obviously fundamental. So don't ever forget, despite what your personal success is, it's a team game.
You name-checked Avril Lewis in recent posts, Technology Connected, and my good friend Alan Miles from IntelliStack for leading Wales Tech Week. And you say it's a privilege to walk amongst these entrepreneurs. What has that event, the Wales Tech Week, done for you as a founder and its importance in terms of the calendar in Wales?
Well, I could be candid. I won new business from it. What's it done for me? It's allowed us to show De Novo is its best. We pride ourselves as a Welsh company. It's allowed us to put our cards on the table. We're up there as well. You
need the platform.
And the platform, and that's the right word. The platform, and it gives us that. And as I said, it's giving back. It's us saying nationally and internationally, this is a great place to do business. So I'm using Welsh resources and I need to give something back, and this is the way I can do it, by using my profile, my brand, and the brand of the company to promote Wales. We don't forget who we come from. Even in India, in the office, we have a motif across the wall that has key parts of Newport and Welsh rugby, and moving into India, which is obviously the dragon. And in India is cricket, the tiger, and the Chennai Super Kings, which is there. So we merge the cultures together. So projecting Wales is key, and I think Avril and Alid, what they do is fantastic. And I genuinely feel, with all the other businesses and people together, I just feel it's a real privilege to be part of it. I really, really do. I feel absolutely honoured to be part of it, and I will support it as much as I can in the future moving forward, and long may it continue.
And what were your thoughts on the investment summit?
The investment summit, wow, the night before the dinner, was you there? Because I didn't see you.
I was washing my hair that night.
Was you? First of all, really privileged to be invited to go to it, and oh wow, talk about putting a show. It was like on the Sunday night. It's got to be one of the best events going. But the nicest thing about the investment summit and Wales Tech Week, and this makes you think, we had, let me go, Americans, Australians, Germany, Greece, Sweden, Italy, South Africa, and Japan. They're the people I met from different countries. And people were just getting in the room, respecting one another, talking one another, how could they help one another? And you just think of all the craziness that goes on in the world.
Yeah, brilliant.
Perhaps everybody should go away and just leave it to all of us inside the room, because it was great conversations, great exposure for everyone. To be fair, the politicians turned up and did what they were supposed to do, and which what we want them to is promote the country and promote what we've got to offer as a collective, and it's all there. And I just think it was absolutely brilliant, and it was just a real privilege to be invited and to be part of it from that side of things. So I don't have anything but that's not positive to say about it. But I do think if you look at the massive impact AI will have or is having, but people got to remember, it's all right saying we've got growth zones, but they're just sheds with computers in it. It's nothing more than that. It's what we put in the computer in the shed is what counts. So we need funds and monies to go into the businesses, into our people, that creates the skills, that creates the content, and whatever form it is that makes the new businesses, prosperous for all and generates it. And people shouldn't forget about that, because that's what happens. We need the monies going into the people and into the businesses. It's great for building things, but a building's a building at the end of the day. It's what you put in it is what counts.
I've said this.
And
have you read one of my posts or something?
It's there. So it's all about...
Because we've always been good at building buildings, roads, but what do you do with them? Do you mean, and that pipeline?
I do say Cardiff doesn't really need another skyscraper. It's like, what are you going to put in that?
Yeah,
it's like
with you.
Get the monies into the hands of the people that are building the future, basically.
20 billion coming in, 10 north, 10 south, is a big number. It might go into the infrastructure, NHS, we don't know yet, but I would like to see that going into R&D and things that will position us right at the top of the game, well, in competition with the world, of course. I was impressed with, the Rachel Reeves hot-footed it down to Wales, the capital of the world, Newport, of course, close to your heart, straight off the budget. Prince William gave time, the Prince of Wales.
Amazing.
It was that kind of pedestal, really, that they needed to turn up to, because, we often feel like poor cousins, not included, perhaps, as enough in the UK government, but it was good to see that, I thought.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big royalist anyway, and it's the first time I've been in the same room as the Prince of Wales, but having his support and being down here, I think that's what makes us great. I'm a big fan of the royal family. I always have been. But that's part of our culture. It's part of what we are. But to have them there and have the support from central government as well as the local, the Senate, was absolutely key, and getting industry leaders in there and getting the different countries, coming along and being part of it was absolutely fantastic. And of course the industries at the investment summit was everything, from medical instruments to creatives to tech. We've got such a strong defence industry down here. It's massive. I mean, perhaps we shouldn't talk about it too much. It's like sometimes Wales is the best kept secret. But I know to grow though, we need collaboration, and we need to extend our reach, and we need to shout more about it, louder about it as a country and I hope that'll be the case regardless of whoever's in power moving forward, because it's the only way we can really move forward with it.
100%. Right, we're going to wrap things up towards the end of the show with my favourite bit of the show, which is Maverick Maxims. So first off, one decision you're really glad you didn't play safe on?
Not to do de novo.
Right, good one.
To come back.
Yeah, you could have retired.
Yeah, I could have done.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. Look at all the jobs in Newport and everything else you've achieved. Well done. A piece of advice you've ignored and you're glad you did? Go on.
About coming back. So there were some people that said to me in a positive way, why put yourself through it all again?
Yes.
Why put yourself through it all again, Mark? What have you got to prove? What have you got to achieve? And they were saying that in a positive way. There were some people that didn't want to see me back, right? But and it was like, tough, I'm coming. Here I am, I'm coming. So that's it.
Okay. So one book, podcast, or thinker you keep going back to when you need just that little boost?
There's two.
Oh, you can have two.
I can have two.
Yeah.
One's in your industry, Walt Disney. and the way he saw the world and thinking.
Yeah.
And his biography, I think, is incredible.
Yeah.
And how many failures did he have before
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse turned up? I mean, he went under a couple of times.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
there. So Walt Disney, very interesting, and the way he saw the world, and
we're still talking
things.
about it and
Yeah,
watching it and consuming it.
a world without Disney, that's a pretty sad place. And so it's there. So Walt Disney, and do you know the other one? Funny enough, is Robert F. Kennedy.
Ah,
And
I think I share that one.
and I think America would have been a different place if he had. Well, he would have become president, and
Yeah.
he would have done 2 terms, and I think it would have been a different place. He came out of obviously John F. Kennedy's shadow and taught himself and understood about civil rights. It didn't just happen, but once it clicked, he knew it was the right thing, and that's somebody who transformed, and it's just a shame. And he unfortunately was assassinated in the year I was born, 1968.
Wow.
Same with Luther King. But if there's 2 that I go back to and I look at just the thinking at times, Disney and Robert F. Kennedy. There's a bit of a maverick, wild couple of names.
What about a risk you haven't taken yet, but you secretly would love to?
I suppose there is a risk, but to continue to scale and to get bigger, we need more capital. So we've got to look at what options to be able to protect what we have, but also to scale what we have, and how we go about that in a way that we don't end up destroying what we've built. We don't want to let our customers down, who've supported us, because we wouldn't be anything without customers at the end of the day. And stuff. Who's most important? Well, customers and employees,
Yeah.
Yes, your employees, because they deliver great services, delivery excellence, but you need customers as well, because they pay you. So, it's navigating that journey.
Right. I'll take that one. So, complete this for me. A maverick leader is someone who ...
That has ambition, aspiration, and ability to lead.
So, we always finish with this, because Inside the Maverick Mind is about more than stories, about what you do when you've heard them, in terms of those that are listening to this. How do they put this into practice? When you put it all together, the boy from Bexley Heath, I am saying that correctly.
Yeah, it's Bexley Heath, South East London.
South East London, isn't it?
South East London, it is.
The school years, the near misses, and the sale of Certus, the 5 years building de Novo, the treble of awards, and the Welsh community around you. What's the single thread that runs through your story so far? What's the one thread?
I just cannot accept the status quo. I'm always looking for. I just think you can do it better. I think that's it.
So someone's listening to this or watching it who feels like they're at a crossroads, maybe thinking about selling or thinking about starting again, like we have lost our mojo for a bit. What's the one maverick move you would challenge them to make in the next year?
I think you've got to really understand yourself.
Yeah.
So you've got the foundation to do what you're ever going to do next. So, and what I mean by that is the reason why you're going to do it, because it's not about money. You never build. It's such a misconception. It's not about that. I don't know anybody who does it. It's why are you doing this? And for me with de Novo is because we had unfinished business, because of the things we wanted to do. And we felt we were challenging the status quo again. We thought the industry had got stale. The industry, we felt, in our space, had lost its mojo, to be honest. And we wanted to bring it back. So, but you've got to understand that, why you're doing it. Why are you going to put yourself through it? Because if you're going to be successful, you've got to give it 110%. And if you're not prepared to give it 110%, you won't achieve what you want to achieve.
No way.
And you've got to be prepared to do it, and you've got to lay yourself on the line. So if you know that's what is required as like the minimum to achieve success, then you've got to know deeply inside why you're doing it. And I'll say, obviously, if you've got a partner, you do it together because of the impact it will have on your lives.
I definitely got my why back. You know, I lost it for a while, but I found it on the side of the sofa. Thank you so much, Mark. Honestly, diolch o galon i ti.
Thank
I
you
mean,
for having me.
you've been so candid about, things you've questioned, the unfinished business. I can't thank you enough for being so honest. And, it really inspires people who are on the same journey. If this conversation sparked something for you, share it with someone who really needs a bit of maverick courage right now. And tell us what's the one maverick move you're going to make. Put it in the comments. Until next time, remember the world doesn't change by playing it safe.